I just like to use crutches so I don't have to rely on myself to do my own walking. It helps my legs get weaker. Censorship protects you from misinformation. Why wouldn't you trust the people taking away your right to free speech? Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. Dude, without censorship, someone might send me medical information that could help me make an informed, consensual decision. I don't think Bill Cosby would like that. Trusting your own discernment about information in front of you should be illegal. If we were meant to use our own brains, then God wouldn't have given us censorship. Without censorship, it's like we'd have to be independent, functional adults. Hi, Mom. What should I eat for dinner tonight? Oh, you want freedom? Even if that means people are gonna die? Misinformation is the leading cause of death worldwide. I don't believe in considering different opinions. I'm not an extremist. I do believe 100% of the mainstream narrative. It's basically the word of God, because it comes from CNN. Except I don't think they're wanting us to believe in God anymore, for some reason. Prison's probably the safest place you can be. I wish I was there. They're censoring our social media, soon our texts. But I'll tell you, I wish they were censoring this conversation too. Can I have a snack? I got a letter from my insurance company in the mail, and it hasn't been censored yet. Could you read it first to make sure there's nothing in it that'll hurt me? Do you think it'd be scarier to be attacked by a bear, a shark, or misinformation? I'm done. Could someone please come and wipe my butt?
And with that, welcome, folks. This is All Minus One, and my name is Bill. Thank you all for joining me. So that was JP Spears, Sears, sorry. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. Quite funny. And it was very apropos to some of the things I'm going to talk about today, because I have been on a community guidelines strike, and this is really screwy, given that I was supposed to stream 2 weeks ago on Friday and had a strike, and then I had appealed it, won, and then several days later, the same video got struck again. So we're going to go through this real quick and talk about a few other days within the current, or a few other things within the current events of the day, if I can communicate today. So we'll see if that happens. Before we get too far along, guys, everyone should know by now, if you're a regular here, that there are ways to donate. You can do that through a PayPal directly, which I don't see in the chat, but I think it was Thane sent me a donation the other week. I didn't get the thanks, so thank you so much, partner. And then we have the Entropy and Subscribe Star. Of course, you can always give me lemons over on DLive as well. All those links are in the YouTube and DLive description. So with that, let's look at this. This is my email account for the channel. And it's just a simple thing I got at 8 in the morning. And it was one of the first things I saw when I got up. And I'm not usually up that early, but usually by 10 I'm up because I'm a night owl. And it was something I saw like immediately. And here it says, our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy. We've removed it for the following content, It's a stream I did with Aiden a few weeks back on a Monday, about 3 weeks ago now. Explains all this stuff pretty simply. Okay, so then I appealed, and by 9:30 that evening, I got this back. We have reviewed your appeal for the following content. After taking another look, we have confirmed that your content does not violate our community guidelines. Thank you for your patience while we reviewed this appeal. Wonderful. Except for I got up on Wednesday, I believe it was. Whatever August 11th was. Let me check my calendar here. Yeah, last Wednesday. And this came in at 2 a.m. in the morning. And it's the pretty much exact same message as that. Our team has reviewed your content. Unfortunately, it violates our medical policies. Well, you just reviewed it under appeal and you said, no, it didn't. So what happened? Well, I think policies changed. I don't know if they did or they didn't, but I know that Rand Paul got struck down, and they keep doing this to certain people, and He's probably pretty high profile and a medical doctor himself. In fact, an advanced doctor, as you cannot just be a surgeon, folks, and have the level that your family practitioner has as far as training. It doesn't work that way in the medical field. In fact, most of the people that go into family practice medicine, I hate to tell you this, they were the worst in their class when it went to medical school. The people that go on to be specialists in other fields that make all the big money, well, they're specialists because they're the most intelligent and brightest and most capable, generally speaking. That's how it works in medicine, folks. So, finally, after I appealed that, this one was, 2 a.m., I said. At 9 p.m., I got this back. Again, 9 days ago. We have reviewed your appeal. And it does violate their community terms of service. So back here's the old backstage, right, of the old YouTube analytics stuff. I don't even really pay attention to this stuff because I'm not trying to make my channel like the biggest thing ever and do all the things that I have to do to get this to work. I'm more concerned about addressing people that want to hear the things I have to say and presenting information, right? So I had a warning from back in January, and that was because there was a video that is automatically flagged in YouTube, and I was not aware of a doctor, a very experienced doctor, a health practitioner, unlike Fauci, who's a bureaucrat, who was talking to the Canadian Parliament about all of the nonsense with their policies. Well, automatically flagged it. The video is up on Rumble today if you want to go find it there. And then this video appeal was rejected. So until November 9th, I probably won't be talking about the COOF much, except for in just a side reference. I have taken down all my videos or privated them for the time being because YouTube plays dirty games with folks. And so they will strike me. And while I'm being struck, another thing that's been posted for weeks or months will get struck again. This video, when it was struck originally, was struck, like no joke, almost 2 weeks after it was released. So, I mean, what is the why? That's the first time it was struck, not the second time after I won on an appeal. So, it's not that I won't talk about these things. It's that the information's been put out there. They were said in the live streams. If you guys were here, then you got to hear it. You got to see it. You heard the conversation. Thank you for joining. And I'm sure, in the future, Aiden and I will talk about it some more. I'll probably have her back on. We were talking about doing another side project anyways. So yes, there's like, it's just, the whole thing's ridiculous. And I just took it for myself to be like, okay, I got a week off work. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to chillax a little bit. I actually downloaded a video game and played it for a little bit. So there you go. But in any case, that is where I have been, aside from, doing housework, normal stuff, or over on the Injustified the Memes. Of course, I was on Dragons of Discord with Yiz on Monday, and I was on Sniper's stream. Well, not last night, Wednesday night after our stream when Sniper was on here, or the Injustified the Memes. So in any case, part of that might have been my titling. I probably could have changed it, whatever else. But what I really want to see is I just want to go through this real quick. Again, this isn't going to be the whole stream, but today, guys, I may not stream for very long. Maybe not as long as I normally do. Of course, I can say that now. We'll see what happens within the next hour or two. But again, appreciate you guys being here, especially since I've been gone. And I can see right now by live viewership, like it shows. This is what happens when you don't have regular live viewership. You get a huge drop when you start doing live streams again. So hopefully people will watch this and I'll get some views afterward. But tis what it is. In any case, so here we have the medical misinformation guidelines. There's all kinds of guidelines, of course, here, but we'll go through the basics. And I'm going to look at these, of course. Looking at just having them on hand here, the potential logical fallacies that they're presenting. So the YouTube statement here for broader suite of policies. It says our community guidelines are a key part of our broader suite of policies that are regularly updated and consulted with outside experts and YouTube creators to keep peace in emerging challenges. Now, I don't know what creators they consult with. Perhaps like, people that have the million subscriber count or a couple 100,000 on occasion, right? But if they were doing that, they're only taking certain opinions. It's pretty obvious. They're not balancing anything. And as far as consulting outside experts, well, that is one of the most egregious logical fallacies we commit every single day, folks. That is an appeal to authority. The two biggest ones we always commit are the appeal to authority and appeal to emotion, because appeals to authority are appeals to emotion. People want to have an emotional belief in their God King giving them all the answers from above because they're too dumb to rule their own lives. Well, most of you, even if you are dumb, are not too dumb to rule your own life. You don't need people telling you what to do. And you give them power over yourself when you allow that. So let's go through the specific policies real quick. I just found this interesting because I read them. I literally did read them. It says YouTube does not allow content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or World Health Organization medical information about the COVID-19. This is limited to content that contradicts the WHO or local health authorities on guidance. I don't believe I've done either in any one of my videos. Now, there may be some things I am guilty of in here, and I'll admit that when we come across them. Treatment, prevention, diagnosis, transmission, social distancing, and self-isolation guides the existence of the COOF. Yeah, okay, whatever. If you're posting content, don't post content on YouTube if it includes any of the following. Treatment, misinformation. Content that encourages the use of home remedies, prayers, or rituals in place of medical treatments, such as consulting a doctor or go to a hospital. Okay. 1, no one's going to believe in those things unless they already believe in those things. So those people who would be of that proclivity to be completely against all medicine out there, YouTube, are not going to listen to your curated advice about medical things. This is a dumb policy. And I do believe in prayer and those things, but it also doesn't mean I'm against using medication or consulting with a doctor. But I think the difference is in what I have done over the weeks, over the months, over the last year of talking about the COOF, what I have done is said, this is what people are actually saying, not what the news is saying, because it seems to me like YouTube is being curated by the media and not the actual science, much like, I don't know, a lot of our government policies are, which is why folks like Ron DeSantis or Rand Paul are out there saying this isn't the science, this is. And DeSantis, since midsummer, late summer last year, so about a year now, has had Florida opened up and has been consulting actual scientists, people who would inform you of things like that there are animal reservoirs, that thing, a video I probably can't play on here. I know it was banned. Elijah Schaefer had it banned on Facebook. Hey, Shelly, thanks for showing up. Appreciate you being here. I was just explaining why I've been gone for for quite a while. And some of my videos have gone private for a little bit, just to make sure I don't get yeeted, right? So let's see. I wonder if I can dark mode this, if it'll work good. Yeah, it'll work for me. So it says content that recommends use of ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. I've never made any of those, but I have talked about how people have talked about how they've helped. I've never said that they work. I don't know. There are signs, but I don't know what the big deal is. They're regular medications. Am I going to get banned, YouTube, for just saying that these are regular medications that are been used for a lot of people? I'm not saying that they're treatments. I'm saying they've been used. Claims that it's effective. Claims that ivermectin is effective, right? I mean, apparently you can't make any of those claims. That's what got Brett Weinstein in trouble, I believe. Claims that there is a guaranteed prevention method. Now, this was an interesting one because before I thought the guideline said something to the opposite of this, claims that any medication or vaccine is guaranteed prevention. Again, I've made no claims. There is data about the prevention rates and the minor increases. I would have put them on the Ends Justify the Memes Wednesday. I had them kind of ready to go, but I had so many memes for Afghanistan, nearly 150. It was a glorious show. It was a glorious show. In any case, look, to me, all of this is about all we did for the videos that I had gotten a strike on. All we did was go through data and then we kind of threw out some opinions about the data, but we made no hard statements in my opinion. Now, again, it's hard to say with the YouTube censors, or it might have been automated. It's hard to say. I know I had that one I showed you before earlier, that my first warning, I would say, because I've had like 3 or 4, maybe I've had 5 strikes. I've beaten them all, by the way, folks, except for the warning in this one, which I did beat with this one. And then like 3 or 4 days later, they changed their mind. Another a-hole says, indeed, you broke Sniper. In any case, yeah, on the first meme. In any case, the videos that I made, though, like we both, Aiden and I, were very adamant saying, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm not giving you medical advice. Go seek medical treatment. All I'm trying to do is present you information that you're not seeing elsewhere in the mainstream news. And you know what? YouTube took that initially, and I won the appeal. It's quite interesting. Again, I don't know what happened, other than it's stupidness. It's screwy. How can I have my video appealed upon review and then have it struck, and then like 4 days later and the appeal go, nope. Unless there's a person who was sympathetic on one end and a person on the other end who was watching it and it was like, no, screw this. This is misinformation. Maybe it's a reporting thing. Maybe someone reported me and I got 2 reports. And after a second report, it's like, nope, strikes out. I have no idea, guys. I don't really care to find out that much, honestly. I hear things like you all hear things. I'm just going to do my thing one way or another. Claims about vaccinations that contradict expert consensus. There is no expert consensus, folks. That's not science. Science is not built on consensus. Again, this is an appeal to authority and consensus. You know, we have all these different things that they do as far as logical fallacies go, but that's not how data works. In fact, last Monday's stream, or Tuesday stream, I keep saying Monday, last Tuesday's stream, I was mentioning something the Alabaster mentioned in the comments about carbohydrates, because we've kind of gone on low carb diets and this and that. And I hear a lot of nonsense about this stuff. And I mean, even from people who are seemingly well educated. It's because they're educated by authorities. They're not educated by the data. And so I had a different opinion. So this Tuesday coming up at 3 p.m., she should be on the show. I'm going to let her present her case. We'll talk about it. We'll have a discussion. You guys make up your own mind. But the reality is that there's no authority on any of these things except for the hard data. Claims that an approved vaccine will contain substances that are not vaccine ingredients, such as biological matter, fetuses, fetal tissue, cell, or animal products. Well, I don't know about all that, but that has been not for this prophylactic. The Johnson & Johnson is an actual vaccine. The rest of them are prophylactics. But I don't know about this particular one, but these are things that have been used in the past and whatever. So maybe that's what people were talking about, YouTube. Again, let me clarify. You all go do your own homework. I'm not here to tell you what to think. You're grown adults. Claims that the vaccines will make people who receive it magnetic. Now, that was just idiotic, because that means everyone who, of the millions of people that got it, would have known this by now, right? Claims that an approved vaccine will alter a person's genetic makeup. Well, maybe they got me on that. It doesn't alter your genetic makeup. It alters your mRNA. which is a part of your genetic makeup. It's not your DNA. It's not a claim that I'm making. I'm trying to explain how these things are synergistic. You learn this in basic biology or anatomy, that RNA and DNA are two components of our genetic makeup. In fact, we don't even know what all of our DNA is. It's something like 80%, 90% of it, I can't even recall, is non-coding DNA. They once termed it, someone said offhand, junk DNA. Turns out some of it's coding, some of it, they're not really sure. So it's only that like maybe even a smaller number than that. I don't know. In any case, it might be like 98%. I forget. I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to, because you guys can do your own homework because you're adults. Yeah. So again, this is just, I don't get this. Like people could go around saying the magnet thing, which I think is utter nonsense. They could go around saying that. I know people that have been vaxxed. I know a lot of people. Most of my family has been. We would all know this. We would know it was a hoax and stupid. I don't understand why YouTube thinks it needs to be your mommy. Claims that any vax causes contraction of the coof. Yeah, I mean, sure. Claims that specific population will be required by any entity except from a government to take part in trials. I like that little exception there, huh? The government's allowed to do what it wants. Content that promotes the use of unapproved or homemade vaxes. Well, yeah, I mean, like, but again, are they homemade vaccines? I've not seen anybody try to put up content like that. Are they saying here's some health remedies that might help you? Instructions to counterfeit vaccine certificate. Yeah, you guys are no fun here on YouTube. That'd be awesome. Find it elsewhere. The interwebs is all over. And that's the other thing. Google, YouTube. Who are you keeping this from? I have the internet. I can use VPNs. It's amazing. I have several different browsers that work very, very well. I don't have to use Google. You think I cannot go off on my own and find these things? It's not that hard. It really, really isn't. Let's see. And check. Sorry, just checking the entropy chat real quick, guys. Content that the COVID-19 is not caused by a viral infection. Well, I mean, I get that. I get that. But again, who cares? Why are you censoring people? People want to say stupid things. They'll say stupid things and they will be proven stupid. They will be proven wrong because they are wrong. The truth is the truth and it shall set you free. You know, it's my highest value. And that's all I'm trying to do is get to the truth. I don't have all the answers. I know where to start looking, though, and I know the promises from God have told me that if I look, I will find it. I will seek it out, and it will find me. And you know what? This isn't about confirmation bias. I know about all these cognitive biases. I know about all these logical fallacies and whatever else. We're all prone to them. But that's the thing is I'm constantly in an actual effort to look for the truth instead of looking toward authority and appealing to my emotions, whether the truth hurts my feelings or not. Whether, you know, I like the feeling of having a competing emotion, a competing belief with another one, and the one dying out and becoming extinct. That is the very popularized phrase today of cognitive dissonance. That process is the dissonance that you're experiencing. I don't like going through that. I've had to go through it many times in my life. But like a phoenix, I rise from the ashes and I'm born again. It's how it works, folks. You're supposed to do this. And these folks who want to censor you, what they're doing are encouraging the dumbing down of all of the citizens of America and the world. And not only are they encouraging the dumbing down of this, they're encouraging a herd slave mindset. They are setting up the very system that they scream against. Stop fascism! Hitler! They don't care how many Jews the Russians killed, the Bolsheviks or whatever. It's only Hitler's Jews that they killed. They don't care how many gypsies that Hitler killed. They don't care how many Christians he killed. They don't care about that. He's just an evil man because of all the other stuff. No, he's just an evil man. He's an evil man because he did evil, heinous things. He treated people like they weren't, they didn't have dignity. No one complains about all of the mentally ill people that he had murdered and experimented on. We only remember those in the Holocaust of Jewish descent. And that's a sad thing. In any case, they're creating this very system that sets up for that strong man to come about. And what we're having, and many of you know who watch in the little sphere of YouTubers that we're kind of tight-knit friends with, right? What we're going to observe is the left wanting a strong man and the right wanting a strong man. This was part of the Trump phenomenon. The thing is Trump isn't a strong, he's not really a strong man. He sort of is. He's just kind of a, bottom line kind of guy. Let's get it done. And the left knew that he wasn't part of the in-group, which is why they lost their crap. Oh, hey, Mr. B. Hayes. I haven't seen you around, buddy. I thank you for still subscribing to me over in Subscribestar. So I appreciate that, partner. Let's see. I got to look at some comments here. Sorry, guys. In order for me to run to be able to look well at my StreamYards, I have to change the dark mode in and out. But in order for me to read well, Bill very much appreciates dark mode on his computer. So I keep referring to you as adults. Good. Yes, you're right, Stan. That's probably not a good thing to do. Looks like I got 5 viewers over on Entropy, but I'm not getting any chat there. So if you guys aren't chatting, that's fine too, obviously. Like, I'm not about to have a conniption because you guys don't chat. All right, let's keep going with this. Okay, content that says it's not contagious, viral infection, yada, yada, yada. Never made any of those claims. Cannot spread in certain climates or geographies. Never made any of those claims. Climate or content that claims that any group or individual has immunity to the virus or cannot transmit the virus. Well, YouTube, that is not scientific on your part. It just isn't. I can't mention the groups that transmit potentially less or that may have some sort of temporary immunity. They may. I'm saying may. I don't know, YouTube. I'm not an expert like you are. So that's just disinformation. We don't have enough long-term studies for this stuff either to know how this works. We do know that you can be reinfected. That's for sure. So what do they mean by this? That's the question. Content that denies the existence of the coup. Well, I've heard people say that. I think it's real. I just don't think it's a big a deal. Those are, two different things, right? I think that over 80% of the people who pass away from this are at life expectancy, and the majority of the rest, 90 plus odd percent, have comorbidities, which is what I have shown you time and time again, and all of the actual data that is not on the MSNs or the CNNs or probably allowed on YouTube in general. Claims that the virus no longer exists or the pandemic is over. Well, the pandemic will never be over. I wonder if I can say that because it's endemic. And as long as there is human to animal transmission and animal to human transmission back and forth, we cannot outvax our way out of this, YouTube. Maybe that's going to get me heated. If you guys don't see me in a week or for a week, you know where I'm at. I'm on another little vacation. Claims that symptoms, death rates, and contagious are less severe or equally as severe as the common cold or seasonal flu. Now, I've been close on this. I've never said this. What I've said is this is for like most people. When most people get this, it will be like a cold. For some, it will be like a really bad cold. And for those who are at life expectancy, who have been in bad health for many and many years, who have certain comorbidities like renal failure, heart disease, influenza, emphysema, COPD, um, I don't know, liver disease potentially. Those folks, diabetes, Alzheimer's, those folks, they're more susceptible to death. And without those comorbidities, yes, yes, and you can infer what I'm saying. Claims that symptoms are COVID-19 are not severe. Never made that claim. What did I just say? For a lot of people, it won't be. We've had that report for a long time. For some of you, I know Val was saying when she had it the other week, or the Delta variant, it was horrible. It actually seems like, to some degree, for some people, the Delta variant might be worse. But the rate of death is just astronomically lower. Here are some examples. Denial that it exists. Claims that people don't die. Claims that any vaccine is guaranteed prevention method. Again, when did they change this one? Claims that a specific treatment or medicine is a guarantee. Hydroxychloroquine saves people. It was used as a prophylactic. The end. And many people made that claim that YouTube says you can't claim. They literally can't state their experience. I thought we were supposed to be listening to everyone's experience. I thought experience was the only thing that mattered. Experience in democracy, mob rule, and everyone's experience. That's all that mattered, right? John Cook said they can shut you down midstream before. Let me see. Let me get it pulled up here. Midstream. It happened for someone restreaming CSPN, or sorry, C-SPAN. I don't know why I got dyslexic on that one. And some politicians said things that YT didn't like. Yeah. Or they allow these things to be said when it's certain channels. You know, when you have like not even 300 subs, people they can kind of push you around a little bit more. I don't have an audience I can get to come up. So, dude, I wish I had worked with has smoked after and slept with people that were sick and has never gotten it. And they tested this man. No joke. One of my good friends, him and his girlfriend lived together. Like she could not get it. And he kept testing for it for like a month. And he said, other than stomach aches and you know, having the runs, he was fine. And she tested for it, and wouldn't test positive for it. Then again, we have to talk about the efficacy of those tests. There you go. All right, so let's keep going. Promotions of Miracle Mineral Solution. I don't even know what that is. Apparently, YouTube was like, nope, can't promote that. I don't know what that is, but if it's a promotion that you might need some more magnesium and salts and minerals in your diet, like if you're a man, you know, that supplementing with like just small amounts of trace boron can increase your testosterone. And there is no known essential need for boron in your diet, but yet it does that. Like if I were to tell you that, because I've done a lot of research for a very long time about these issues. And I would show you a paper about that. You know, do you think that that's going to make you more healthy? Because I can tell you right now that having higher levels of testosterone as a man generally is going to make you more healthy. You're going to be a lot happier. You're going to be a lot less stress. You're probably going to have lower body fat. In general, that's one of the biggest things actually you can do to raise your testosterone is lower your body fat. The other thing you can do is be very promiscuous, but I don't encourage that one. In any case, if you know, I were to say, if you did these things, it would help your health out, which might then in turn help you get over a virus. Would you consider that me trying to promote health or trying to give you misinformation about the coup or something? I just don't know where we're at. I don't know where we're at with all this. Yep. Someone say boron. I take 9 milligrams a day. Jeremy knows. Jeremy's a big old buff dude. Me, I got fat. I got fat the other year because I hurt myself, and then I got lazy, and so I'm getting back to form, as I call it. Not fat now for sure, but definitely could put on some. I felt I needed to cut more than I needed to try and bulk, because sometimes when you bulk, you put on too much fat. There is such a thing as a clean bulk, guys. You can do that. I'm not a much of the mesomorph type, right? Isn't that it? It's the ectomorphs, endomorphs. I don't remember. I don't put on muscle unless I do a lot of volume. Generally, I'm just naturally lean or skinny. In any case, encouraging taking home remedies instead of getting medical treatment. Well, you don't. Okay. You only need medical treatment if you need medical treatment. So the interventions for this are when people need to be hospitalized. There is no other medical treatment. In fact, your entire thing before this, YouTube said, I can't recommend medical treatment. We can't say anything's really a treatment or a cure or whatever. Right? It claims that these things are treatments. A treatment is intubation. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that done. I have. I've had to hold down people to have it done. It's not a fun thing. And people wake up in the midst of it, like after that tube's down their throat, and they want to pull it out. It's crazy. So there's stuff there. In any case, you're likely to, the numbers show, if you go to the hospital with the coof. I'm not saying if you guys need medical treatment, like with the emergency room level treatment, like you can't breathe, please go seek it. I'm not discouraging that. What I'm saying is if you go there because you have a sniffle, you're more likely to stay there with it or contract it there. Claims that certain people have immunity due to their race or nationality. Well, I've never heard of such a thing. Encouraging, but I have said that there does seem to be there could be potentially something, maybe a gene polymorphism that this thing attacks and affects more people more so. But generally, it seems to be the trend that there's comorbidities. These folks haven't taken care of their bodies. Encouraging taking home remedies instead of getting medical treatment when sick. Yeah, okay, I just read that. Discouraging people from consulting medical professionals if they're sick. Nope, never did that. Content that claims you're holding your breath. What is it? Like, who came up with this? Videos alleging that if you avoid Asian food. No one came up with this but the left-wing media, who apparently magically can hear every single dog whistle that the far right has. No one on the far right knows what the dog whistle is. We're like, do you hear it? What's that whistle? I can't hear it. No, we don't even hear the whistle in the first place. They're like, oh, he said it's come from China. That means he's racist from Asians. And it's like, dude, it's almost universally accepted now this is from the Wuhan lab. Come on. And folks like me who were saying that from the beginning, we're getting banned. Called conspiracy theorist. Imagine that. Bill's a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I missed your stream, Jeremy. I'm sorry I missed your stream, but it's kind of been on hiatus. New study I covered on my stream shows black seed oil reduces and increases recovery time too. Yeah. Well, again, if I'm not around for another week, guys, you know where to find me. I'll be over in the Just by the Memes. Let me check entropy real quick here. Hey, look at that. Hey, Brian, thanks for the donation there, buddy. He just said thanks, Bill. So yeah, man. Well, you've been slowly, handing me a few bucks every month, man. So it's appreciated. Right now, that's just a piggy bank for me. Maybe eventually, if enough people want to do that, I can tell my wife I have like a regular income. But whatever. I mean, going out and working in the world, man, it's not for me these days. Videos alleging that setting off. Plus, I'll never get this freaking book written, dude. I I got so mad last week because I had written this good section portion part of my book, and then it disappeared. And I mean, I just wrote, and it just poof, it's gone. So that was quite annoying and frustrating because I think I spent like 2 hours, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't like fleshed out real nice. I would have probably drafted it 3 or 4 times, but still, I'm like, now I have to remember everything I just wrote. uh, this is life, though, right? And I laugh because that's all you can do. Getting mad is just a waste of time. Videos allege that setting off fireworks can clear the air. What in the world is this junk? These are examples, by the way. Apparently, people have done these things on YouTube at some point. Claims that it causes radiation from 5G networks. Now, I know that was a big one for a while. But that wasn't even a thing. I think those folks were saying that the 5G was weakening the immune system, making people more susceptible to the coof. I'm pretty sure that's what that argument was. I don't know if 5G is good or bad for you. I know some electricians and stuff that have told me that like work like tower lines and stuff. They've told me it's not good, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out when we're all mutants in like 20 years or something. Just joking, YouTube. I was being facetious. Videos alleging that the test is causing the virus. Yeah, I think some people were saying that a while back. Claims that countries with hot climates will not experience the spread of the virus. Now, hold on. This is not true. No, I don't know if anyone's made this claim, but in certain longitudes, right? You are, or is it latitude? What am I thinking? Latitude, yeah. You're going to be exposed to more sun. Like if you're in a subtropical or tropical region, and vitamin D is a big thing. People are vitamin D deficient. And again, a lot of this is because like the biggest problem people don't understand with obesity is that obese people are actually malnourished 90% of the time because you're obese because you're eating a low nutrient density food, but they're high in calories and highly insulinic. And because of that, you're constantly storing fat, but you're not really getting nutrients. And they've done studies, they've done scans of people's bodies, and a lot of people that are really overweight, their muscles are actually atrophying, which is why, of course, we have all the motor scooters, the rascals, and Walmart and wherever else. But yeah, you want actually lower. Generally speaking, this is something I'll talk to Alabaster about on Tuesday. But I don't generally go along with the calories idea because there's a million and one flaws with it. I consider it a measurement that's a good guide, but your body doesn't work the way a what is it? Calorimeter? No, a calorimeter, whatever, a calorie meter, how they measure it. It just doesn't work that way, guys. It really doesn't. There's all kinds of reasons, and we'll go through that Tuesday, hopefully. But it can be a rough guideline, a good rough guideline. Videos allege that social distancing and self-isolation are not effective in reducing the spread. Well, sorry, maybe I've gotten caught on that because that's what the studies say. Claims that wearing a mask causes oxygen levels to drop, and then it adds to dangerous levels. No, not alone to dangerous levels over time, though. But what about the moisture buildup and bacterial buildup that builds up in there that can cause other issues, or the fact that once that moisture has built up in the mask for about 20 minutes, you actually make that cloth mask a super spreader. Because now you're aerosolizing the virus, which before it came out in droplets. Now maybe the science has changed on that as well. And I don't know something, like imagine YouTube that Bill's flawed and he doesn't know everything in the world. I guess I have to be a resident expert in order to talk about things, or have some sort of committee backing me, like the WHO. Claims that masks cause lung cancer or brain damage. Claims that wearing masks give you the coof. Vaccines will kill people who receive it. uh, claims that vaccines will be used as a means of population reduction. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Videos claiming the vaccines will contain fetal. We already went over that. Okay. So, and then it says what you might be able to do, and basically this is what the ends justify the memes is, which is why we probably get away with what we get away with. But I want you to notice how this is worded. Additional content or context may include countervailing views from local health authorities or medical experts. Now, I've done that. I've done that many a times because this is educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. Well, that's what I do here. This is, believe it or not, folks, an educational channel. It's amazing. It's like I read to you guys from history books and philosophy and all this other stuff, and I talk about ideas and classical liberalism. It's like my channel is educational. Of course, it's me and how I want to present the information, but come on. But it says context in the video, audio, title, description. This is not a free pass to promote misinformation. I've never promoted misinformation. I only use actual studies. And I say when I speculate, I try to at least. May we also make exceptions if the purpose of this content is to condemn, dispute, or satirize misinformation that violates our policies. So I can condemn, dispute, or satirize things that violate their policy. So there you go. And that seems to be, again, why the ends justify the memes gets by. But this, to me, reads like it's a policy that's for all the authoritarian status. So I don't know. You guys tell me. I will not really be, again, talking about this for a while. I will unprivate my videos that I privated. I just don't want to get those random back-to-back strikes. There's other stuff I wanted to get to anyways. Should be talking about stoicism right now. Probably do that next Friday, unless I don't get through some of this stuff. Hard to say, because I don't know if I can stream forever today. In any case, let's look at some chat real quick. And close out some tabs as well, guys. So, again, that was the deal. Quite silly because, like I said, I won my appeal of that same video that was struck, and then like 4 days later, it was struck again. The whole thing was quite silly. So, let's see here. Yeah, say some of these are crazy. Claims wearing a mask gives you COVID. Who's making that? Exactly. Trump took the Regeneron. Yeah. And then when they made the best thing about that was when someone made a parody about the Regeneron, and then the Trump campaign just threw it up on their YouTube page anyways. It's awesome. So awesome. Unbinds testosterone from binding globin and turns it into free testosterone. You're talking about boron. Yes. Was the SGB. Being dyslexic and having to remember acronyms and stuff is very difficult, guys. This is why I'll never be in academia. Regeneron is FDA approved. Kiz says, please do check it out. As a guest on Jeremy. Was that a comment you said earlier? Kiz? I don't know. Almost impossible in the mainstream workforce these days. Yeah, Brian, I don't know if I can say that per se. Like, I could do that. It's just I want to work with moral people, and that's hard. It's not hard if you work local, for sure. If you can find someone to work for, whatever else. You know, when I worked for the sheriff's department, it was like a good old boy system, a lot of nepotism, a lot of cronyism. The Masons were, a big thing there. And I was kind of just stuck there because after I separated from, well, one, I had a family beforehand, but especially once I separated from my ex, I was, I needed a stable job, to take care of my daughter. And, yeah, like there's corruption and stuff that I could definitely, I don't have a problem talking about it or even saying it openly. Stuff that I know that the sheriff did and other things behind the scenes. And I mean, big time stuff, big time. It's more like I prefer to save that for a bigger outlet. I'll put it that way. But you know, it's government, and most of the people that worked at those places are hedging their bets. When I worked for the hospital, I left because of corruption, but I was a different person then too. I mean, I literally, because I had the life changing experience a few years prior is why I left the sheriff's department for sure. I mean, I felt stuck there forever, but I just was like, I'm going to wait. I'll just wait. I can retire. They only took 3 years of military time. And we had a 25-year retirement. So I could have stayed there for another 2 years and I could have retired at not quite 50%. So, and we're also talking about a place that after they gave us a certain pay raise and guaranteed us an annual pay raise, and even though the county had a surplus of money because everyone else basically cut their spending, and 2008, after the financial crash, the county government decided, we're not going to give you a pay raise for 5 years because everyone else cut their spending, even though we have a surplus. And I can tell you that the numbers on the county level, as far as public safety goes, school board, all that, about 20% of the county budget. We're talking about a rural county, 150,000 people in it, right? Most, cities are bigger than that. But at the same time, public safety, that is fire, EMS, sheriff's department, less than 1% of the budget. Less than 1%. Can't even pay your people well. So anyways, we got this big pay raise, which was nice because it did get us on par with other local departments, but then they then they didn't give us any raises for 5 years for no reason. So I was 10 grand behind basically, but when I left, so stuff like that. And I was like, I would tell people that, like, people don't understand that robs people, that it robs people out of their retirement later on, out of your pension, because we actually had a pension. But anyways, enough is enough. With that, I was just saying, like, yeah, there's too many dishonest people, especially in government, and as far as, I wouldn't really want to work for a corporation. I wouldn't. If I worked for somebody, I probably want to be local. If it was going to be a corporation, it had to be a limited liability, probably something very small. That's just me, though. Let's see here. So, guys, I titled this Censorship, and then I talked about it. I said Afghanistan falls, Chinese militarism, bomb threats, civil wars. Say it ain't so, right? And I spent forever talking about YouTube policies. In any case, let's look at some other stuff. We're not going to watch this whole thing, but if you guys haven't seen this from V, he put this out yesterday. You should watch this. And he's right. He's very right. This has been going on for a while, Chinese militarism and their buildup. And hopefully sound and everything comes across well. So you guys let me know, as always. But essentially, with the fall of Afghanistan, that area has always been of strategic value because it's like the bridge between the East and the West of sorts. It's the Silk Road. People fought over those areas forever. The saying in The Princess Bride, though, you don't fight a land war in Asia, right? That's a saying for real. They were talking about Iran. That's what that means. It's talking about Iran, but still, it's no different than Afghanistan. It's the same thing. There's just certain terrain features and areas that are hard to get through and to conquer, which is why I'm an advocate of you all moving here to West Virginia with me. There, and we have little mountains here, but still, it's not easy to get around. So in any case, they probably will come in. I think all of this is part of a bigger picture. Again, I'm speculating at this, but a bigger picture of the world order and world powers and how we shift things. And since we've been propping up China, since Nixon opened up China and we got off the gold standard and all that stuff. We were already off the gold standard, but fully off the gold standard. Inflation's been crazy. And we got done with the Cold War. We had to have a new enemy. We wouldn't open up with Russia that way, which was weird. But we had to go through an arms race with Russia to get them out, and then we just propped up China. It's all very strange things. We still are using Russia as a boogeyman, and they're nothing more than a regional power. I know you have the GDP of Texas. I remember I covered earlier, I think last year, there was an article talking about Trump removing the last remaining 1,000 or 300 troops or whatever from somewhere in Germany to somewhere else or something like that. One of those nations. And they were freaking out and how he was just opening it up for Russia. I'm like, Germany has its own military, right? And much like, the Taliban has an air force now, so do they. They call it the Luftwaffe. That's Air Force in German, guys. It's like, these people say these things because they don't know what they're talking about. It's amazing, right? China has been making plans for revenge against the West for a very long time after the Great Humiliation. China has a 100-year plan. China is going to be the world power by 2049. That is their goal, and they will reach it, folks. You know why? Because there's no one standing in their way. There are only people propping them up. When we are seeing the shift, the economic shift from all of our production from originally here in the United States to overseas, Japan before, and then China. And then we see all of our entertainment shift towards the Chinese. Even though they're based here in America, they care more about cowtailing to the Chinese CCP. And technically, the CCP is an illegitimate government. I'm sure they'll love me saying that. But technically, China is West Taiwan. The legitimate government of China was run out by Taiwan. Now, we're mincing, or run out and in Taiwan. We could mince words here and say, well, because the CCP took over, they are the legitimate government. Yeah, of course. But they were a coup. And I think the Chinese model is highly sought after by many people around the world, including, the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and the UN. And you want to look up UN corruption, guys. You want to do a Google or DuckDuckGo search or whatever you use. Go look that up. And you will see that China is involved in so much corruption with the UN, China and Africa generally. But guess where Africa gets most of its money from? Who owns most of Africa right now? It's China. And China is the slowly becoming the world imperial power. Now, we could argue that America isn't an empire and whatever else. Okay, sure, whatever. I think I was listening to Don talk about that this morning. And mind you, Don was talking about bigger points and bigger things. But we absolutely are an empire. We're modeled right after Rome, like the rest of the European empires. And most of our language and our culture is Roman. Now it's developed more since then. That Christian influence is definitely there. But it's still very Roman. If you want to debate that with me, guys, go have a little trip to any state capital because they all have Roman architecture in them. And our federal capital, of course, is a giant homage to Rome at points in the ancient world. That giant phallus that's called the Washington Monument. That's a good time to do that hand gesture. the giant phallus, that big monolith in the middle of the lawn, the national lawn there, and the reflecting pool. That's all back to Rome and ancient Egypt and all that stuff. That's why that reflecting pool is there, as above, so below. That's an occultist ideal. The White House and the Capitol building all set in the middle of a pentagon, right? Like literally, like the roads make up, or not a pentagon, a pentagram. It's quite strange, but in any case, moving on. these systems, though, they've of the Western world has bared with us, and those are at the very top who want the global government, who are emulating that system. They like the old systems of authoritarianism. Klaus Schwab says very specifically in his writings that the the 20th century was too libertarian, and I'm like, what? The 20th century is from the 19th into the 20th century. We had some of the most dictatorial governments ever in history. We had the most amount of democide ever. Just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So, in any case, let me play this video for a little bit, and we're gonna learn about China and their military power. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. You guys go check out V's channel. A few things to bring up before I get out of here. Hopefully, I'll be able to get out of here at the bottom of the hour, guys. So it'd be a short one today, hopefully.
In 1949, the Chinese government loses control of the mainland to the Chinese revolutionaries. And as such, it is forced to flee on the island of Taiwan, where they declare martial law. Now, to oversimplify things, there have been many attempts of Chairman Mao to invade Taiwan during its history. All of these attempts have failed, and the conflict between these two places has stopped the moment the United States decided to intervene on behalf of Taiwan. This intervention was made by President Eisenhower in an attempt to stop the spread of communism around the world. They have provided Taiwan with personnel as well as the equipment in order to defend themselves, and finally decided to threaten Chairman Mao that the Americans are going to nuke China if they are going to try to invade Taiwan. Now,
real quick, Ike was voted in to keep us out of war. And so this was a big deal, but it wasn't what we did in Korea. So that should be said. He did escalate our involvement in Vietnam, but not like successive presidents, right? All right. Well, thanks for letting me know the volume's good. I appreciate that. Astaroshi. You guys with your screen names, I swear. Keep them simple. Keep them simple. Us dyslexics, we don't read well.
Till this day, the situation is left in a very weird state, where the Chinese Communist Party claims that Taiwan is actually part of China and not a separate nation, while the United States and many of its allies consider Taiwan to be an independent place. So why is this important today? Well, Taiwan, number one, managed to experience a huge economic growth, which historians have called the Taiwan miracle. In order to understand just how important this one nation is to the economy,
Taiwan expanded in its growth because they are one, very conservative. And I mean that like traditional values, that kind of stuff. Conservative, socially conservative. Two, laissez-faire capitalism. They are very free markets, right? They are very much classical liberals. And so because of that, they've been very prosperous, just like Hong Kong was. And we just see this time and time again. Don't get me wrong. If you get in trouble in Taiwan, you'll be in big trouble.
of the entire world. Imagine that if Taiwan was to disappear tomorrow, it would cause a massive global crisis, as manufacturers of phones, computers, and cars would be unable to produce goods. And this is due to the fact that over 70% of chips are being manufactured in Taiwan, among other essential goods that the entire world relies on. And if this is not enough, Taiwan's strategic position allows it to intersect various trade routes, which would cause the people owning Taiwan to be able to set various fees and tariffs if they so wished. And finally, it's also a very important strategic objective. The situation of this island allows for the owner of the island to control a vast area within the Chinese Sea. So now you can understand just how important this little island is. And it's even more so important diplomatically, especially for nations like the United States, because Taiwan represents the symbol of the United States domination in the South China Sea. The United States has also assumed the obligation through the diplomatic treaties that it signed to defend Taiwan from any incursion. Should the US fail to protect Taiwan?
So you guys have to understand here, the military presence, I know a lot of you guys are vets who watch, but the military presence in the South China Sea, or that general region, has been built up over the years, again, because of Korea, right? So we're there in South Korea. They have their own defense force. We're there in Japan. Basically, they have their own defense force because part of them losing the war was that they really couldn't have their military rebuilt. So that is why we're in those areas and around there. And of course, we operate in theaters in the Middle East. We are, again, the world empire. That seems to be about ready to change hands. And like I said, you know, if climate change doesn't kill us all in 10 years, you know, China will be the world power. They have to be. They're economically quite strong. Now, the stuff I talked about earlier with the, you know, their 100-year plans and all that, I have gone through again on this channel some months ago. You can find it, and I probably have it in a playlist because I tend to do that, so it's easy for folks to find older material. But yeah, they very much have been calculating about what they're doing. Now, a lot of people will talk about here in the U.S., do we calculate what we're doing? It seems like we just don't do anything. You know, we do things like idiots. We might. I know that Joe Biden's most certainly an idiot, but of course he doesn't really do anything. It's everyone behind the scenes, folks. That's how it works with like every president for real. Okay. They might actually make the calls or the shots, but it's a bunch of people behind the scenes, and it doesn't even mean that they vet the information they're being given very well. But when it comes to the exit strategy that we used in Afghanistan, it had to be purposeful. Don't get me wrong. I know the Obama quote about, you know, leave it to Joe Biden to F something up, right? I know that was said to him or about him, but we're talking about not just him himself. We're talking about the Joint Chiefs. We're talking about military commanders on the ground, and any number of people saying, "Hey, you guys should not. You guys shouldn't. You know, exit this way. You should do this. You should do that." And they said, "Just get it done." And what I would say is that's because there's someone else behind the scenes going, "No, let this happen this way. Let this happen that way. No, it's okay. We want this to happen." Like leaving all the weapons behind. Why did we do that with why did we do that for ISIS under Obama? I don't remember this being an issue, by the way, when we went into Iraq, or at least into Saudi Arabia back in the day, right? And Kuwait, to free Kuwait. Then again, we didn't really go into Iraq after that. We didn't give chase. And we're not fully out of Iraq either. But again, when did we start just leaving weapons behind? The sniper brought this up the other night. It's like destroy in place. That's like a 60-year-old doctrine. I mean, I know that. For me, being an infantry guy, we'd have gotten an assault man because they would have some sort of demo on them. They have all the fun stuff. So, you know, we'd have gotten an assault man, which, if you guys don't know, assault men are like infantry, but they're specialized as breachers, and they fire rocket launchers and all that stuff. So, cool job. But the best job as an infantry man, I think, is a tow gunner, because you never have to hump anywhere. But in any case, yeah, like you get rid of that stuff. Why was that done? Why are we now saying we can't extract people out of Afghanistan? Well, because we want the crisis. We want there has to be some reason for this crisis. And so there's got to be some sort of savior or something coming up. I'm not saying I know exactly what they're going to do or what's going to happen. What I'm saying is it at some point you can attribute all this stuff to malice, but at some point you have to start saying, wait a minute, or sorry, not malice, to stupidity, to error, to ignorance, to whatever, to Joe Biden, right? But at some point, you have to realize it is malice. They're doing this on purpose to build something else up. And you might go, "Come on, Bill, that's insane. You can't say that." No, I can, because interestingly, it provides all these other opportunities along the way. And again, I'm not saying Joe Biden is privy to some grand plan, but there are always people, NGOs behind the scenes pulling the strings, folks. And if you don't think that that's true, then why the hell was Build Back Better, Joe Biden's campaign slogan, that was all over the World Economic Forum, because they're the ones who created it, and it's all over county governments, state governments, and federal governments all over the world. It's everywhere. Why are all the richest people in the world, the big CEOs of all the biggest corporations, multinational corporations, why are they all meeting in Davos and then making plans for the world together? Just because you can watch it on YouTube doesn't mean it's not a conspiracy, folks. It doesn't have to be behind the scenes. And I'm not saying the World Economic Forum is behind all this alone. No. These people are in like all these different organizations together, right? We get every ounce of our foreign policy, every single ounce of it, from the Council of Foreign Relations, David Rockefeller's organization. That is a globalist organization. David Rockefeller himself has admitted to trying to bring about a global one world government. Why do you think they hated Donald Trump? Donald Trump wasn't part of the CFR. That was at least a reason. And I don't think Trump was a super competent guy either, for many reasons. But he's better than what we've had in a very long time. So, in any case, again, just trying to give some flesh out some background here on what's going on, and again, this battle.
Taiwan from Chinese aggression, it would signal to all of the other nations in the Pacific that the U.S. is incapable of protecting its allies. The United States' influence in the world due to their military will evaporate, and so would the value of the US dollar overnight. This would cause Western economies to crash and force nations to go to the bargaining table with China, abandoning ties with the US. And China would be in a position to dictate the course of the world economy as they control manufacturing, and could deny countries who will not bend the knee, and force subservient countries and businesses to chastise those that do not fall in line.
So China has all the manufacturing. What did we see under the coup? Well, we had to ramp up our manufacturing because we've outsourced it for so long. They have so many resources around the world and have had so many ties with Australia, because obviously they're very close to each other as far as continental governments go. Because Australia, guys, you got to think about it. It's its own continent. It's by itself out in the ocean, a very, very big ocean. It's pretty far away from other countries, right? It's one of the reasons why they've had near zero incidences of the coup. That and their insane policies where they're locking everyone down for one incident, one death. But, I mean, you can do that. You live on an island continent, you can kick everyone out. I'm okay with that. I don't like the authoritarianism, but I'm okay with a nation determining its own destiny. In any case, as far as the trade issue goes and the manufacturing goes, again, going back to the Great Reset. When you all read, I'm sure at some point, or someone has read it to you on the interwebs, the article about you'll own nothing and be happy about it. Did you get down to the part where it starts talking about not understanding the people that live in the countryside, that don't live in my little rent-a world where I own nothing, but I rent everything? I don't even really own myself, because technically if I'm renting everything, it's basically like I'm a slave. I mean, it's a few steps removed, but it's not far away. Which is also why I say, hey guys, we're all basically slaves, because even though I'm a slave to the bank right now, having a mortgage, even when I get that mortgage paid off, I still got to pay property tax. So, and the government will come and take your land if you don't pay your taxes. Generally on counties, it's more likely that you'll get liens and stuff like that, or, whatever. Depends. It's still, If China has all the manufacturing, if there's one source of manufacturing, this has been going on for 30 years. This has been consolidating manufacturing in China. If that is the case, then who is to say when we need things that they just say, well, going to shut it off? Who's to say that groups like Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and the UN and the World Bank and name whomever else is to say, well, you have wrongthink. You talk bad against the state. I mean, they already have a social credit score over there. This is how this gets transposed to us, though. And part of it is that we have to weaken ourselves. And this is, I believe, part of what V gets into. I watched this the other day, so it's not fresh in my mind, but we're looking really, really, really weak. Joe Biden's saying we can't even extract our own people, while France and the UK are doing exactly that out of Afghanistan. Joe Biden's in an interview that's highly edited, by the way, but he's in an interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he says, look at these. He goes, but the body's falling off this place. And Joe's like, that was 5 days ago. First off, that's insane to dismiss that it was just 5 days ago. Second off, it was literally 2 days. 2 days ago. So you don't have your days right. You don't know what's going on. But beyond that, you just dismiss a bunch of Afghani people who are human beings who were afraid and didn't know any better because, sorry guys, they have low IQs. They have low IQs because, well, they're nomadic people, and that tends to be the way nomadic people are. As far as the Middle East goes, there's a high percentage of inbreeding. There could be many other number of factors. They are, in the classical sense, barbarians. They actually are. We have lost this distinction today. I'm probably not going to get into it because I'm not trying to have a 3-hour stream today, but if it becomes a regular 2-hour stream, I'll do a regular 2-hour stream. But I do have stuff I do want to bring up and talk about, but I talk so much. So if I don't get there, I don't get there. Regardless, what we're seeing is a civilizational shift, and it seems to be very calculated and on purpose. We look weak. We're appearing weak. Our military is being torn apart from the inside out. They are putting in ideologues in charge. Our own agencies are making up stories that are unfounded based on the START Foundation, which is total BS. This I covered a few weeks back. You guys want to go back to that, where we get all this information about white supreme pizzas being the biggest threat to the world. It's from a guy who's ideologically driven and has no data. I even showed you the guy's own data, and it refutes his position. The Fed's gone, man. They're the global government. They are the heads of the global government, and they're going to allow the power to be shifted over to China. That's what's happening. That's what we're watching. Afghanistan had to happen, guys. We had to pull that Band-Aid off at some point or another. But we didn't have to withdraw the way we have. And China will likely move in, and they will handle things differently. And if anything, they'll be brutal, but China will probably wheel and deal with the Taliban, buy land and resources there, because Afghanistan has a lot of resources that have never been tapped into. So again, China gets a hold of these, they get more power. And I know there are folks out there that are like, China is not so stable itself and da-da-da-da. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who's stable if the global hegemony allows those people to be the world power. This is why, even though inflation's going crazy, it doesn't really matter as long as other nations accept the petrodollar. Now, it does matter to us at home, but in the end, the United States will still have power. But when we switch, when we get off that, we're going to collapse. So what do you do first? Well, you inflate the money. The people are already torn apart. Let's you guys can go watch the rest of V's stuff. V's great. You should watch his content. Let's go here. So I can get to that other stuff I wanted to talk about. So I don't really watch Rich Barrister very often, or Rich Barris, sorry, very often, unless he's on with Robert Barnes, and I still don't watch him with Robert that often. I usually watch Robert with Viva Fry. In any case, but I did catch this from Tim Pool yesterday, and good information is good information, and I know that Rich is a good pollster. This is the number of folks, according to his survey data, who believe that civil war coming up. Now, this is total, and then it's broken down bipartisanly. 22% very likely. That would be probably most of you watching me right now, right? Most of you probably believe it's likely. It's coming. 37.9% believe it's somewhat likely. Now, there is no middle ground other than no option unsure. And that 10% difference, I mean, that's pretty good. But this is a majority. Only 30% of the total believe it's unlikely. The majority, nearly 60%, said they think civil war is coming about. And it breaks down almost exactly the same on bipartisan lines. Here we have somewhat likely with Democrats at 35%, 38 for Republicans, 38 for independents, and 43 for something else, which who knows what that means, Green Party, I guess, or libertarians. But obviously other affiliations. Here we have 20% for Democrats, 26 for Republicans for very likely, 20% for independents, and 14 for the other affiliations. This is given that from what I understand, Rich has pretty good polling data, pretty good information. This is very telling. This is very telling. And guys, despite me not watching Rich very often, I do catch his stuff because I do watch, quite frankly, often. Not every night, but most nights I'll try and catch him if I'm around the house or listen in. So Rich is on there all the time. So hold on. Let's go back here. Here's an older article from him from 2015. And I want to just bring this up because you need to understand the cost of civil war. Civil war is sacrifice in vain. Just 1/3 of Americans know about the 19th century struggle. This is from 2015. April 12th marked the anniversary of the start of the Civil War, but a new survey from Rasmussen reports finds just 1 in 3 Americans even know it happened. Yeah. Because of public schools, right? How do you not know that we had a civil war? That's insane. With an abysmal and frankly pathetic number such as that, I thought it made sense to draw attention to the nation's past suffering and sacrifice before it came a valid position to argue they were both in vain. After all, a nation as defined by Benedict Anderson is not a nation at all without a shared sense of sacrifice and glory. The American Civil War was the nation's bloodiest conflict by far, with 620,000 military deaths, representing roughly 2% of the entire U.S. population. Military deaths, folks. That is not counting the farms and small towns that were burned down by the Union in the South. New military technology combined with outdated battlefield tactics resulted in a scale of military casualties and death unprecedented in American history and to a certain extent, world history. And here is the comparison to other wars. Now, this says Iraq, Afghanistan as all together. Sniper was saying it's just under 8,000 in Afghanistan. I don't know. I don't have the numbers here, but this is just what he has. This was from 2015, though. right? It's a couple years ago. So death counts could have gone up for sure. If we were to total up the number of military casualties from all the following wars, it wouldn't parallel the deaths seen in the Civil War until the Vietnam War. Indeed, nearly as many Americans died in captivity during the Civil War than the entire casualty count from Vietnam. Died in captivity. So we have the 500,000 plus 120,000 who were killed. And then we had the nearly 500,000, minus 24,000 wounded. And we all know what wounded meant back in those days. Most of those people lost arms and legs. Still happens today, of course, but not like it was back in those days when that was generally the only solution. And then another 400,000 people captured or missing, died in captivity. This is horror, folks. We don't want to go down this route again, but we're going down that route. And we hear about it a lot. People talk about it. We want to avoid it. One of the big things I try and do on here is be like, hey, be aware of these things, be prepped, be prepared the best that you can. I get it. Money's tight. We're going through an inflationary period. There's an artificial housing bubble that they're making on purpose so that you can't, as a average day individual, everyday human being, buy a home that you have to rent forever, because this is what they want. They want you to be a debt slave. It's easy to control you. I will remind you what mark of the beast is in the Bible. Now, we could say it's all kinds of things about a specific person's name because people believe that at one point or another. But the text of the Bible, the scripture says specifically that no man may buy or sell unless they worship the beast or his name or the number of his name. And I'm telling you right now that the number 6 is the number of man. That passage can be interpreted as a man and has been. That's the context it's believed to have been. There are early church writers that wrote that. Irenaeus, I think I have Against Heresies right behind me. Talks about this. Literally thought it was going to be one of the Caesars. Arthropos in Greek can mean man, as in humankind, or it can mean a man. I think it's the number of man, and it talks about economy, church, and state. And that's these three things need to be divided and separated. See, Bill says stuff all the time you guys don't pick up. I have reasons for saying. There needs to be a separation of economy and state as much as a church and state separation. And kind of one of the fundamental differences between, not truly, but between fascism and socialism, or fascism and communism specifically, I would say, is that the state becomes the god in communism. And fascism, it does as well, but they allow independent religion as long as it doesn't interfere with the state. So you can see how it's not really much different. In any case, the Bible says it's talking about a false prophet, a church that is the harlot that rides the beast. The beasts are nations. It's talking about a system of empire and nations. It's very clear. It's all out of Daniel. One day I'm going to do a whole thing on Revelations and try and explain, at least to the best of my ability, the way I view it after, I don't know, most of my life trying to figure this out. But that's what's going on here, and that they want to make us debt slaves. Worshiping the beast is going back to work and working for immoral people and sucking it up. That's taking the mark of the beast. Taking the mark of the beast is being the wedding cake baker and being ordered by a judge to make the cake and doing it. Now, I don't really think there's been anything wrong for him to make a cake for them, but I get it. I get it. And he has a right not to sell to whomever he doesn't want to sell to. And what's so screwed up in our law today with that cake baker is those people just made you a slave. Because if I have to be compelled to do something for you, I am your slave. All right. This model forecast the U.S. current unrest a decade ago. Now it says civil war. So this was just from June, and this is about the fourth turning. And I'm going to bring up some of this stuff because we've all seen it, so I'm not going to cover it in depth. But it just needs to be glossed over and understanding that there are people that study this stuff and they believe this is going to happen, right? And I mean, people who are academics, this isn't an appeal to an authority. This is saying that these are positions of educated individuals. In the early 1990s, when Bill Clinton was in the White House and the United States looked unshakable, the administration appointed Jack Goldstone to study how states fail. They meant other states, not the U.S. Few expected that this model would later predict their country's collapse. An unpublished paper submitted for peer review, Professor Goldstone, who is a sociologist, and Peter Turchin, an expert on the mathematical modeling of historical societies, have concluded that the U.S. is headed off for another civil war. The conditions for civil violence, they say, are the worst since 19th century, in particular, the years leading up to the start of the Civil War in 1861. The reasons for this are trends that began in the 1980s with regards to inequality, selfish elites, and polarization that have crippled the ability of the U.S. government to mount an effective response. The pandemic disease, they write. Okay, whatever. This has hampered our ability to deliver an inclusive economic relief policy and exacerbated the tensions over racial injustice. Okay, so I guess that talks about something specific. What are they saying in the 1980s? In the 1980s, we had a recovery. Now, don't get me wrong, the economy got somewhat sluggish, but it was the policies from the generations prior, like Nixon putting in price and wage controls, as well as, Carter, and even those who came before him. I mean, when JFK came along and cut taxes, that was huge, huge. This country had been so taken over by the fascists. It was insane. And we what we've done is chipped away a little bit at it in public rhetoric, while it just continues to grow behind the scenes with Leviathan of corporations, to the point where we're going to eventually live in that actually multinational cyberpunk corporatist utopia. That is where we're headed. Professor Goldstone is a leading authority on the study of revolutions and long-term social change at George Mason University. The model developed by him and Turchin tracks such data as the ratio of median workers' wage to GDP per capita, life expectancy, average heights. Average height would be an expectation based upon nutrition, guys. So that's why that would be factored in. And the number of new millionaires. And by the way, I don't know if they factored in this way, but nutrition, instead of just saying, the idea is that richer nations have more access to better nutrition. But nutrition is also highly correlated with IQ. So at least for babies that in developing children, good nutrition and IQ is highly correlated. So anyways, where was I here? It also measures political polarization or the degree of overlap between the parties. Applied to U.S. history, It predicts the 1861 Civil War and the unrest of the 1930s. The unrest of the 1930s was caused by prohibition and fascistic government. Well, it was the 20s, sorry. The 30s was because of fascistic government. And they kept us in a depression, period. Time of Jim Crow, segregation, the Gilded Age of inequality and fascism. Yeah. 10 years ago, Professor Turchin pointed his model towards the future and made an uncannily accurate prediction. Just like the 1950s crisis indicators were rising, he wrote in the Journal of Nature, they could be a reliable indicator of the looming instability. Is this the original article? This is from 2010. Oh, wow. Look at that. Come back to that another time, guys. So there's the modeling, of course. Excuse me, guys. No crickets in here for you all, so sorry. Had to get a drink of water there. Speaking of us, home in Virginia on Monday, the day before, a member of an armed militia shot a protester beneath a statue of a conquistador in New Mexico. Professor Goldstone described these predictions as scary as hell. The general feeling is horror, he said. You shouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know what fear is, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have fears, folks. They're more like, things about my children and stuff. Not, I don't know. As they grow, you worry about the little things with them sometimes. In fact, the present disorder was forecast as far back as 1991 in the book Revolution and the Rebellion. In the early modern world, Professor Goldstone used an early version of his model to predict the rise of a leader similar to Donald Trump. Bum, bum, bum. He predicted Orange Hitler, guys, and all the concentration camps that came with it, and the great economy that we had with, I don't know. It came down to the population changes, he argued. The American population surged after World War II, the boomer generation born in a time of relative peace and plenty, and the massive cohorts age of accrued wealth. They could make the country vulnerable to political crisis. But this would only happen, he wrote, if the elites did three things: tighten up the path to mobility in favoring themselves and their children, like increasing the cost of university. The cost of university has increased. But what we've done is we've subsidized it, which is why it's increased and made it worthless at the same time. That's what happens when you subsidize things. That's why socialism always fails. Always fails. And you might say, Bill, that's not socialism. It's seizing the means of production. No, it is socialism. It's public welfare. It's public good for folks. Free markets are owned privately. We call those things charity, by the way. When you give private donations to people, like that's called charity. When you give it to the government, well, that's obfuscation. And you don't get any points for that because they're going to take it from you anyways. Dampen wage growth and claim a greater share of economic gains for themselves and resist taxation so the government is starved of needed revenue. As it turned out, this is exactly what would happen over the following 3 decades. I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly what happened or not. Dampen wage growth? No. What happened was, on that end of things, if you're, an Austrian economist, you understand how this works, is that the wage growth got dampened because of the inflation of not, because the idea that we have fake money that's not tied to anything except for oil when it's in foreign trade. We don't trade oil within the United States, though, folks. You have to realize that. So it makes a great difference. Claim a greater share of economic gains for themselves. No, not per se, but they didn't dampen the wage growth. Like I said, it was the hidden tax of inflation. Resisted taxation so that government is starved of needed revenues. Well, that was never going to happen. I mean, the fact that we get some back and forth and we even get tax cuts on occasion is amazing. And by the way, most of the time when a tax cut comes, it's just a cut on not back to where we were at some point or another, but of, some raise that was there. So we could have like 2 or 3 different tax hikes, and they might do one cut of one tax hike. So that's generally how these things work. It depends. Of course, they have to make everything highly complicated, and all complex systems are doomed to fail. As it turned out, this is exactly what would happen over the next 3 decades. At the Nonprofit Fund for Peace in Washington, D.C., the Fragile States Index tracks data such as the state and public service and income inequality and assesses countries a score indicating its resilience and ability to cope with shocks. It's been running the index since 2000, and in the last few years, the U.S. position has steadily worsened. It says that although the index was not designed to make predictions, he had noticed some interesting correlations in 2016 when the Trump election and the Brexit referendum happened. We looked back and found that the U.S., along with the U.K., was actually one of the most worsened countries. That's poor phrasing. In the world over the preceding several years. Indicators, a group of grievance and fractionalized elites, he said. Well, yeah, we didn't need to look at the data, guys, because anyone and everyone who pays attention out in the world, all of us conspiracy theorists, we all saw this coming, because it doesn't take a genius. And if we didn't have mainstream media, I think everyone would know that this was coming. But again, when you have global national corporations running everything, they don't care about borders, they care about their narratives and propaganda. You get as I bring up often, H.G. Wells' Open Conspiracy. Perhaps I'll in the future read some of that on the show, or H.G. Wells' New World Order, where he writes about this because he was involved with these people. These folks, these are their plans. These trends in the indicators have continued in recent years. Looking at other countries have collapsed and seen the patterns, yada, yada, yada. It could be a pandemic or a loss in a war or perceived abuse in public security forces, he said. And normally prior to the worsening process, a country would be able to adapt to deal with that. But because of this long-term buildup of vulnerabilities, it cannot. It happens slowly and then very, very suddenly. And that's it. That's the boiling frog, right? Whichever side loses could dispute election outcome. Goldstein predicts a real problem in the beginning of July 31 with Americans at $600 a week. COVID unemployment, tax expires, social tensions, yada, yada, yada. Any case, guys, I'm sure you know about the the fourth turning. There was the MIT report. It was released again from the 70s. That one's really weird because the Club of Rome was involved with that. I've mentioned the Club of Rome on here before. I mentioned it several times. It's one of those little secret societies most people don't know about. It's not really a secret, but it's one of those groups of people I'm constantly talking about, the NGOs, the UN people. It's literally from former UN folks who get together and have their own little group in Rome. It's odd. Kind of like the World Economic Forum. But I know it's all these people sitting in the room, twisting their mustaches, not that kind of conspiracy. No, they think they're genuinely helping by enslaving you. But trust me, most of them know that they're enslaving you. Or at least the innermost circles. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Let's see. So then I came across this, which was interesting, from Quartz. The pseudoscience that prepared America for Steve Bannon's apocalyptic message. This is from 2017. Of course, this I didn't read this whole thing, guys. I must never read these articles before I bring them on here because I want to be able to respond to them honestly. But I thought from the title, you could probably glean how it's going to lean. Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's White House strategist, has been getting a lot of credit in Washington for the apocalyptic ideology dominating the new administration. So all that word means, by the way, in Greek is the revealing ideology dominating the new administration. I hate this reuse of words like, it's catastrophic. Apocalyptic does not mean that. Mind you, this was from 2017 again. The former alt-right media and whatever, I'm not going to try. Hobbyist, film financier, and Goldman Sachs banker isn't shy about getting his sharing his idea and becoming his boss is so incoherent. Because his boss is so incoherent while Bill is being incoherent, members of the media have often looked at Bannon's worldview as a guide for the current administration. Okay, so the first thing I can tell you is folks that don't pay attention, who are suffering from Dunning-Kruger effect, and who generally do not have good logical processes, meaning they're not as high IQ generally as they think they are, because most people that are high processing have good logical processes, or they're just sophists, and that could be it too. This guy could just be a sophist. Yeah, but only someone like that is going to have this idea that, this far alt-right person with their crazy views is going. Only a person like that is going to think this way, to look at things this way, because they have their nose so far up their own butt that they can't see anything other than their own butt. Like, seriously, guys, when leftists argue against these points, it's always like, well, actually, they go into the Voldemort thing. Well, actually, if you look at this, no, let me tell you, Tyler Durden, what's his name? Is it Tyler Turden or whatever? With the character that Crowder had, like on his little bit for a while. He's interviewing people. He did one with Peterson and I think Shapiro and a couple other people. That's Vosh. It's the same person. And only someone who is not paying attention is going to make up these kinds of excuses. And it's funny when you see these lefties say these things. You see, let's say, bigger personalities, right, like him. Or we were talking the other day about I think Destiny, and it's the same kind of thing. And like I think Destiny is actually not the worst, but I don't watch him regularly, but or really at all. But I think the last time I saw him on Tim Pool, it's kind of this stuff. Well, no, there's this and that. There's always some sort of excuse to say, no, this isn't how it actually works. But the bottom line is that, okay, the general trend is this is how it works. And this goes along with, I probably won't get to the idea of, well, I'm not going to get to because I just can't stream that long today. Goes along the idea with as society gets more androgynous, as homosexuality rises, it begins to fall. Well, Camille Paglia was talking about it for a while, a few years back, and there were leftist blogs. Like, oh, this is just absurd. But I can bring up the papers on it, bring up the science on it. We talk about what Aristotle said about women and the fall of Sparta. How that the fact that they had the right to vote or basically have influence, that it completely ruined their society. He says that they got so much luxury for themselves, and the men basically became the slaves of the women. Any of this sound familiar? I mean, in any case, a person like this just doesn't want to see. They don't want to see the truth. And it's as simple as that. Says his views revolve around several key themes that cannot be explored at some length, but briefly summarized, American society is at a turning point in history and facing social collapse thanks to a decadent generation that's forgotten the values that made America great. Yeah. Yeah. That's like the fall of every nation. Oh, I hear a baby screaming. We'll end at 5, guys. So I'm just going to have to today. The fall of Rome and the decay of our present civilization, a repetitive process, the decay of gods. I mean, you can go look around there or paper after paper after paper, and I'm not going to get into it because I just don't have time. Here's one with the thing I was just talking about: gender in the empire, and there are numerous articles about these things. This is from 2004. But look, you don't have to take my word for it. Go look this stuff up for yourself. I had a lot more today, guys. There's a bomb threat yesterday. I wasn't really going to get into that. I just kind of put that in the title because I thought it was interesting. But I talked a lot about those community guidelines that got violated or didn't. I don't know. I see Aiden. Aiden showed up. Hey, Aiden, thanks for watching. If you want to come on next Friday, I'll message you. But love to have you. I want to talk about stoicism again next week. Hopefully, I'm more articulate next week. I'm hit or miss with that. Let's see. Juan Cholo. Didn't even know you were over in the entropy, guys. I haven't checked in a while. He says, I heard that writers of the Constitution were concerned that they didn't include enough Deuteronomy in the Constitution. You know, an interesting thing about the book of Deuteronomy, I can't think of the king. Can't think of his name. But after their captivity, that is the Israelites, was actually just the tribe of Judah, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Where we get the idea, the Jews, the word. Once they regained their nation, they had to relearn all their traditions and they like relearned the Bible, and they found a copy of Deuteronomy. They didn't even know they were missing a part of their Torah, their scriptures. So it's pretty little interesting story there. Anyways, it's in the Bible. You can read about it. Aiden says, oh, study. Not sure in what reference to. The left and the right supporting both the Taliban and the U.S. government imperialism are authoritarians, full stop. Agreed. I'm not supporting the Taliban. I'm supporting the Afghanis' rights to do as they please with their nation because they're their own people. And I support that for anybody. I might have made fun of the Chaz or the Chop, but I supported that too. Yes, Josiah. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you. It was King Josiah. Yes. He was one of the more. All of Israel's kings were incompetent except for David, and David was a warmonger. So, well, I shouldn't say that. Solomon was competent, but he became a wicked man. David was competent, but he kept fighting war. I don't think he was a very good dad either, but that, opinions. Let's see. Asta, isn't that what you said to call you? Asta? Okay. Asta, it seems like a plan for the Middle East has always been to destabilize the area and push Islamists to the extremes. Well, I think that is so that they have a reason or excuse to go there. Then again, as far as I think Iran's pretty actually semi-modernized. It's not as strict as people like to believe that it is, but there are strict rules because it has a religious ruling class. But if you go to the UAE, I mean, they got their stuff together there, and they basically separate the two things. They have their princes, their royalty, and they have their religion. But if you're not Muslim, they let you go do stuff, and they're quite wealthy. They play ball with us, so we like them. It's just some of these other Muslims, they like these backward ideals. And trust me, guys, like the idea, like we talk often about might makes right, that is generally, I'm telling you right now, far more appealing to someone who's not intelligent. And the reason why is because they don't know how to come up with a solution to a problem other than violence. I was actually thinking about this before I got on the stream about when I was a kid. I used to get in a lot of fights when I was a kid. I'm a little guy and pretty good about my temper now. I'm not really an explosive person or anything anymore. When I was young, whole another thing. And especially like if my friends would like elementary school started being jerks to me or whatever, I would lay them out. So um elementary school, that is, did I just say middle school? Elementary school, and then middle school, I got a lot of fighting, like because I'm little. I wasn't even 5 foot when I went into middle school, right? So got in a lot of fights growing up. Not really in high school or anything, but and it also goes to show you though too, like Michael Malice's point that for a lot of kids, the only violence you'll ever see will be in school. That's actually why I was thinking about that. It came to mind too, was because almost in every instance, those events happened at school. So, never got caught at school. Well, one time I was on the playground. I didn't even throw a punch. All I did was stop a bully from messing with some other kids. And the lunch lady on recess put me against the wall, and I cried about it because, I mean, I was like in 4th or 5th grade, and I was like, I didn't do anything. Is what it is. It seems like the plan. Yeah. Okay. Taliban as our new community. Yes. Right. What the hell? People don't understand history, and everyone wonders why they think socialism is a good idea. Yes, Thane. And I was saying, I don't know if you were here earlier in the stream. I think you sent me a PayPal last week or something, so I appreciate that very much. Again, guys, links are in the YouTube description. If you're there, there are ways to donate if you wish to do so. I'm here one way or another, compelled. What if they try to throw a war, but we don't escalate? What do you mean? Who? The Taliban? We'll escalate if we want. We'll do whatever we want. The problem is that another issue that we have today is that we'll complain about the Taliban's brutality, and this is kind of going to your point, Aiden, right? And the Taliban, they are brutal. But we're just as brutal in the civilized world. Except for we don't hurt you physically necessarily. We'll just take your job. We'll throw you in jail. We'll sue you, take all your money. We'll defame you endlessly on the media, in the media. Yeah, we're brutal in other ways. Very, very brutal. The base Catholic neo-monarchists keep forgetting Samuel, where God talks about all the bad things that come to have to. Yeah. You know what, man? As soon as you, I know what the Orthodox, at least, and I'm not against Orthodoxy. I am against the papacy. I'm just flat out against the papacy, guys. I don't care if you're Catholic. Papacy is not biblical. It is part of that whole beast system and false prophet, as far as I'm concerned. All the reformers believe that, and even the Orthodox believe that, more or less, from what I understand. In any case, what was I saying? About the yes, Samuel. Is it Samuel 10? I always forget that. It's verse 10. It's Samuel, or is it Samuel 7? I'm not good with those things, guys. I'm not good with numbers and that stuff because dyslexia. Just can't remember stuff correctly. They will say it's not a good excuse because, or that's not a good reason because obviously, God wants things like it is in heaven and he has a kingdom in heaven. I'm like, no, Christ is our king, the end. And I get into it. I'm like, this is literally a prophecy about what's going to happen. They go, well, then God blessed Daniel. And he said he blessed Daniel. God said he would not be able to build his temple because he was a man of war. And he's going to pass that responsibility on to his son. And he chastised Israel pretty regularly about wanting to be like other nations. And they say, well, no, it was prophesied it was prophesied in Deuteronomy, or not Deuteronomy, Exodus, it was prophesied that one day that they'll want to have a nation. So therefore, because God, there are many different ways to view this, but because God does not live constrained by time and can see all things happening at all times, and says, hey, you're going to ask for a king eventually, and I will give you one. That prophesied Daniel. You know who it actually prophesies? Christ. It prophesies Christ, you idiots. And all of Daniel's blessings as the king are prophecies about Christ. And if you don't understand this, then I don't know if we have the same faith. Because that's what the scriptures say. that's what they are. It reads clearly. He's not talking about when he's blessing Daniel and how your kingdom will go on forever and ever in all time and reign over all peoples. He's not talking about Daniel. Or sorry, David. I keep saying Daniel. I don't know why I do that, right? David. He's not talking about David. He's talking about Christ. That's why Christ had to be from the line of David, though. Because the line of David was blessed, not because it was the line of David. Not God chose David because of who he was as a young man. God chose him for that to be his lineage. Think of how horrible David was. God thought he was a good enough man to pick, and how bad that means the rest of us are. That's a pretty Samuel 1:8. Thank you, Juan Cholo. It's a pretty big thing to think on. But yes, David's line was chose to carry that on, much like Abraham became Abraham, the father of many nations, and his line was chosen to carry on the lineage of Christ. And it's not just the Jewish people; it's all people blessed on this earth through Christ. That's why he was picked particularly. He amongst other men, God saw as something special to use. And every one of these men, by the way, folks, in the Bible, are immoral people. They do immoral things. They're more moral than some, and there is righteousness in them. And unlike what the Calvinists teach, your righteousness is not just filthy rags to Christ. And I know they take a line out of context out of the Bible, basically, because you can go read Job, and Job sits there and says that he was seen and counted among righteous men. So again, your misunderstanding of scriptures and you trying to twist them to your beliefs, but that's again another thing. Anyways, get off that tangent. Shelley says they were trying to stir it up with BLM, CRT, January 6th overreaction, just poking conservatives to hit back so they can justify turning on us. Yeah. I mean, well, this is why I never advocate actually protest. I don't think it does anything. It doesn't. Not right-wing protesting. I witnessed this when I was younger, and I was a little bit more politically active, as much as I could be, at least, and like on the ground doing stuff, trying to help organize. The Tea Party very specifically comes to mind. It immediately got appropriated by the deep state, big state, rhino Republicans, right? The neocons, whatever flavor that's in there, the war hawks, immediately got appropriated by them. And the media called the people teabaggers, knowing that was a term that was disparaging, and knowing that boomers had no clue what that meant. I remember coming into work, and one of the guys I work with was laughing about it. He goes, they just kept calling them teabaggers over and over again. Yeah, no one in the Tea Party did that. But that's why you don't that's stupid. It's stupid. Dude, the hardest enemy to fight is the enemy you don't see. You guys need to learn more tactics. And again, as a little guy, everything I've ever done in my life as far as training, and guys, I've been doing this since I was like 10 years old. I'm 40 now. So I've been around the block. I've trained with some crazy people. I've done some really cool stuff. Fortunately, I've had some really cool experience for somebody who's, lived in the same general area his entire life and hasn't gone far. But I mean, the reality is this. The more stealth you can be about your attacks, and like, there is no fair fight. I'll put it that way. All warfare is asymmetric. All warfare is asymmetric. And if you're going to fight, whatever way you're going to fight, you have to figure it out how you can receive and take as little damage as possible, or endure as much damage as possible. You know, I started training Russian martial arts in 2015. Now I haven't trained more or less, other than, you know, doing drills here and there on my own, or with buddies on occasion. But I haven't trained like I used to since probably 2016. So it's been a little bit, maybe 2017, probably 2017. But the Russians have a mindset that if you can take more punishment and get beat over and over again, but the other guy, you can outlast the other guy, then you'll win. That's a strategy that doesn't last you your life, though, right? Like the Russians understand that, though. They know that you're not going to be able to get beaten up forever in your life and do things really hard as an old man, but that's part of their mindset. So what do? They yield to the force. They learn how to relax with everything and move with it. And like martial art, prior mentors I had after I started training Russian martial arts, despite whatever voodoo things you think you see on YouTube that look fake, some of it is. A lot of it's just training drills, where you're just training attributes. But most of what you're seeing, at least if it comes to like the little strikes that are like this, that they don't look like I can do that to you if you would like to experience it. You can email me and we can get together, and I can punch you and like boop, and I've done it to plenty of people, and drop you. It's weird, but it's just technique. It's a mechanical technique. In any case, but yes, that they feel they understand how to start to yield and go with things, and then part of that stuff is hiding your shots. If I can hit you and I can barely move my fist, you don't see where that comes from. And time warps, because it makes your perception, makes you perceive that I'm a lot faster, because I'm actually moving shorter distances with more or the same amount of power if I moved a longer distance. And that's because you learn how to get more rotation in your joints. More rotation creates more torque. More torque creates more energy that you can use your own natural mass behind. But again, that's what I'm saying, though. This is what I do. I dissect things. I become more efficient at it, and you need to as well on the battlefield. And one of the ways that you do that is you get tough, but you also get stealth. You also learn how to attack in ways and angles. And us going out in the streets, this big long rant I have, is not that, and it's not effective. It's not effective, and it just allows you to be demonized, much like they did with the people at the Michigan protests. It allows you to be manipulated. Don't let the media manipulate you. Antifa knows this. Why don't you? Why don't you know the rules that Antifa has for themselves? Don't talk to the media. And there's some people you can probably talk to, but, you know, don't be Black Rifle Coffee and go with the New York Times and then be mad that people are mad at you because New York Times framed your words in a certain way. Don't get me wrong, those guys kind of cucking pretty hard, but anyways. All right. I think one of the best ways the right can protest is noncompliance. 100%. 100%. And who's going to make you? Most sheriffs won't. Not if you live in a conservative area. They will not. All right. I ain't got nothing else on entropy, guys, and I ain't got nothing else for today. I'll tell you what I'll do, though. I'm going to play the JP clip I play for those, because most of you came in late. I cut this, and of course, you guys all know who this is, but I'll play this as we get out of here. All right. So, guys, thank you all for showing up. I should be back on Tuesday with the Alabaster. We're going to talk about health fitness stuff. We're going to talk about carbs, low carbs. I'm going to have way too much information, but when do I not? I can never get through what I have. So in any case, guys, once again, thank you all for watching. This has been All Minus One. My name is Bill, and I wish you all well. Have a good weekend, guys.
I just like to use crutches so I don't have to rely on myself to do my own walking. It helps my legs get weaker. Censorship protects you from misinformation. Why wouldn't you trust the people taking away your right to free speech? Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. Dude, without censorship, someone might send me medical information that could help me make an informed, consensual decision. I don't think Bill Cosby would like that. Trusting your own discernment about information in front of you should be illegal. If we were meant to use our own brains, then God wouldn't have given us censorship. Without censorship, it's like we'd have to be independent, functional adults. Hi, Mom. What should I eat for dinner tonight? Oh, you want freedom? Even if that means people are gonna die? Misinformation is the leading cause of death worldwide. I don't believe in considering different opinions. I'm not an extremist. I do believe 100% of the mainstream narrative. It's basically the word of God, because it comes from CNN. Except I don't think they're wanting us to believe in God anymore, for some reason. Prison's probably the safest place you can be. I wish I was there. They're censoring our social media, soon our texts. But I'll tell you, I wish they were censoring this conversation too. Can I have a snack? I got a letter from my insurance company in the mail, and it hasn't been censored yet. Could you read it first to make sure there's nothing in it that'll hurt me? Do you think it'd be scarier to be attacked by a bear, a shark, or misinformation? I'm done. Could someone please come and wipe my butt?